If the Warriors aren't making the playoffs, who do you have in? Show us your teams.
Well, these are the 5 right now, and I think even with the Lakers with 5 players under contract, they are my #1 seed. Denver, the continuity factor, 12 players under contract from a team that was 1 game away from the Western Conference Finals. The Jazz, the big winners of the summer, Bojan Bogdanovic, Mike Conley, Ed Davis, Jeff Green. Portland with Damian Lillard and C.J. McCollum back, added Hassan Whiteside this past week. Houston, status quo, brings back that starting 5. And I think, Laura, here's what we're looking at, right? 6, 7, and 8. And I think for 6, for me, it's Oklahoma City with Paul George and Russell Westbrook. Number 7, I'm never going to bet against San Antonio. 22 straight years making the playoffs. And number 8, the Clippers, with or without Kawhi Leonard. Returns basically the same group, 48 wins. And I think when you look at what's left, and we're not even talking about New Orleans here, you can make a strong argument for Sacramento. Certainly we've talked about Golden State and also New Orleans. I mean, New Orleans could also be potentially in play here too.
Yeah, I agree with you on New Orleans. It just, every time I look at that and you just see the Warriors kind of sitting up there, not in, it is sort of shocking.
In order to take the Warriors out of the playoffs, you see who he's putting in. Are you buying or not?
I really like the Clippers. I do. I think they had a great year, but part of the reason why it was so amazing is that it was just impressive the way they finished the season. Don't tell me that that team, if a healthy Steph Curry is a 2-time MVP and played great with Kevin Durant out, so you can see that he still has that extra gear, and then you add D'Angelo Russell. They have some solid pieces, not great, but don't tell me that those 2 guys are not better than what the Clippers can roll out there.
Well, I'm just looking at Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, good young player. Going to be a good young player. Going to be a good player for a long time in the NBA. Gallinari, Patrick Beverley, you're telling me those guys are better than Draymond Green, Steph Curry, D'Angelo Russell, Kevon Looney? Understanding that system, there's no chance. I am sorry. There is no chance. The Warriors, we are all jumping off the Warriors bandwagon way too quick here.
Look, and injury is always the X factor in everything. And one of the conversations I've heard about these Warriors is, well, one injury to this guy or one injury to that guy. A lot of teams could be put in that category. Barring a significant injury, are we also underselling the Steve Kerr factor here? Steve Kerr is, at this point, by record, one of the greatest coaches in NBA history. Now, he falls under the Phil Jackson category that a lot of people will say the situation was tailor-made and handed to him. Right. He can really prove something this year as he mix and matches new pieces and obviously without some of the star power that he's had in the past. What do you think of the Steve Kerr factor in this?
I mean, look, Steve is a great coach, and I obviously am going to respect the fact that he's going to be able to coach these guys up. But I think to Bobby's point, this is kind of a bet on the depth of the Western Conference, right? Where there's probably those 5 teams that are cut above. And then the Warriors are probably at the top of that next group, but it only takes a Steph Curry injury or something for them to drop out. And there are 6 or 7 teams. He didn't have the Pelicans up there, who I think are going to be way better with J.J. Redick and Derek Favors. The Mavericks, to your point, if they get Danny Green with Seth Curry, with Kristaps Porzingis, with Luka Doncic, they could be way better. So you're talking about 11, 12 teams. If they're all in the mix, it doesn't take much to fall out.
Right, but if we're talking about that mix and we're talking about injuries, okay, fine. Russell Westbrook goes down with an injury at OKC. What do they look like?
Well, we saw what happened with the Lakers. We saw what happened with the Lakers when Bron went down. So, then that's my point. I assume that everyone's going to be healthy. Assuming that everyone is healthy, you have a 2-time MVP, you have a 22-year-old All-Star, and then eventually around the All-Star break for the last 30 games. So tell me this, if everyone's healthy and it comes down to the Kings, the Clippers, and a healthy Warriors team with what they have in the final 10 games, you're going to tell me that those teams are going to play better than the Warriors?
And there's a name that you didn't even mention in all of that, and that is the guy who made himself. He took himself from being a second-round pick that was very questionable coming out of Michigan State, and I didn't know that he'd have a place in the NBA at all, and turned himself into a superstar who's going to get some sort of a max contract in Draymond Green,
and he's
who without
Kevin
Durant on the floor, in his contract year, who without Kevin Durant on the floor, when he facilitates the offense, showed you again in the playoffs this year just how good he actually can be.
No, I couldn't agree anymore. So when you look at a guy that is an all-defensive player, a defensive player of the year, like they still have a good amount to at least make the postseason. If they're healthy, I'm sorry, I can't jump off the bandwagon.
And that's the best argument against Bobby is that Draymond Green in particular is going to come out like a house on fire because he wants to get that Supermax contract next summer and get, win Defensive Player of the Year and make an All-NBA team to qualify for that.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports, highlights, and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus right now.